perceive life. But sometimes it's very difficult for us to perceive life in someone else's eyes. Look through their eyes. And now it's not only good enough to look through their eyes, but you want to make them know that you're looking through their eyes. Because people's feelings want to be felt. They want to feel their feelings. So number one, we have to agree. And number two, we have to feel their feelings. And the only way to feel truthfully their feelings is by seeing it through their eyes. And once they know that you felt through their eyes, and you become one, you become that one because you unite in those emotions, then you can sit down together and you can say, I see what you're saying, I feel what you're saying, but I have a problem. It's a whole different world. Because in this scenario, the husband's respecting, going all out, and the wife is helping her husband achieve those emotions. The husband has to become intact with his emotions, see her feelings. 90% of the time, my wife is upset with me. It's always because I didn't take out the garbage, or I didn't wash the dishes. It's always something I didn't do. Because bottom line, my wife wants me to be a good husband. And she wants me to be there. And the way to be there is to see her feelings. To be intact with those emotions. And only then you can become united. Again, so I want to end off with a blessing. My birthday, I guess. Blessings that we all should see very clear in our paths. We should have mentors to guide us. We should always remember that there are women on earth to maintain, to see the beauty in themselves, to maintain their beauty. On the other hand, for the men, to keep fighting against the karma. Women also fight against the karma, but men have to grow and not be lazy. The hardest thing for a man is laziness. That's what we are. We are given. We love to be lazy. Our job is to fight against that evil condition and to achieve it and to make something out of ourselves. Thank you very much again.
Why are you putting the men so down?
I don't, but I'm happy.
Listen.
I'm happy. I achieved. We're not communists. We're not communists. We're capitalists. We fight to achieve. We fight to work hard.
By the moment the man was clear, the man ruled the world. The woman is helping.
Women should help.
The men rule the world because the man physically is more strong and mentally.
That's right. They're built for that.
Some questions?
They start the wars, they gotta finish them.
One second, she wants to ask before that.
So in the paradigm you described where the woman's at 100% and the man's.
Yes.
Why was it Chava who ate from the eight stuff?
Why was
Chava.
the one who ate us?
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Why is it that Chava was only after she ate from the Eitz? Why did God, the first woman that was ever called the name, the first being that was ever called the name was Chava? Right? Adam didn't have a name, he was just called man. That's not an, okay, today it became Adam. But Adam just means generic thing called man. It's not a name. It doesn't define a person, it's just called man. Kabbalistically, there's no name to Adam. Adam never had a name. Adam was man. If you're a B'nai Adam, you're a man. Chava had a name to her life. She was not called Isha. If Adam is a name, then Isha should be also a name. Isha, she was not called Isha. She was called only Isha until she ate from the tree of knowledge. And only then she was called Chava. And then Adam decided to name her Chava. Why? The idea is, the Kabbalists tell us, because a woman brings form to her husband. What's that? He's like water. And there's nothing to it. He could do a lot with water. It has to be done in a form. A woman could bring form. But why was it again given that name? A woman who possesses form. She's defined. She could bring the potential out of her husband. She's very practical. So why did the woman be called after? And the answer is because a woman didn't need to be called Chava prior to the sin. She knew who she was. She was called Isha. She knew who she was. But because Adam didn't respect her and blamed it on her right away, blamed her. If they're going to come to the ultimate sin and then blame, you always know it comes from somewhere. And the Kabbalists tell us that the reason why she had the ability to sin was not because the shalom bayis happened afterwards and he just blamed it on her. No, it started from somewhere else. He didn't show her respect. She didn't feel she was Chava. And because of that, God told him, now you call her Chava. You have to remind yourself every single day how special your wife is. Because if you knew how special your wife is, she wouldn't have done this. And you would have not fallen. This is what the Zohar tells us. Zohar writes in Parshas Bereshis that the husband, or the Adam, the first nigla was not showing the beauty. Actually, you know what writes is very clear? Rishon for Hirsch. The 8th volume in selective writings, in collective writings, there's a section called Women. The first one he talks about Chava. He says it very clear that the reason why Adam failed was because he didn't respect his wife. And then this is why he would have to be called his wife Chava afterwards, because to show her that how special she was. For himself, he had to remind himself how special she was. I just want to point out one thing, is that why is it that we fail? Why is it that, because you brought up this beautiful subject of Adam and Chava, why is it that we fail? If we all know what we could become, if a woman knows how special she is, and a husband knows the potential, the great potential that God gave him to become, then why do we fail? And the answer is because we stop believing in ourselves. It works for both of us. Something down the line occurs to us personally that we don't believe that we can do it. We're afraid. We spoke about this last time I was here. But we're afraid of something within us. In fact, after they sinned, Adam and Eve, what did they have to do? They were embarrassed. And what did God tell them to do? To put on a lavusha. What does the word lavusha mean? Clothing. Where does the word lavusha come from? Busha. Which means embarrassed. Another Hebrew word for clothing is beged. The word beged comes from the word begad, means to rebel. When we all fall. We're all robots. We all have lives. We all have our nuances in life. We all go through life. We can't say that, since I fell once, that's it, it's over. And be embarrassed of ourselves for the rest of our lives. Because sadly, this girl went through a time in her life that she was embarrassed and she couldn't look at her diary. Doesn't mean that they can't become true again. You can always become that queen again. And you can always become that achiever again. You have to remind yourself that you're the image of Hashem. And you can do it. Any other questions?
So what if a woman doesn't know all this? If they don't know the Torah? If they were brought up in a home that...
It's a very, we have cases of Tanakh Nishbats. It's a very serious... You could ask yourself, you could ask in today's society.
Yeah.
Sadly people, we all love Yiddishkeit because we're all brought up in this, we all become, my family's Baal Tshuva, I'm Baal Tshuva, and we saw beauty in Yiddishkeit. We all saw what happens to our family life. We're concentrated, every once a week we get to Shabbos, people get to spend time with their children. What happens to people that don't see Shabbos?
Exactly.
So it's very sad. It's sad. We have to. This is why I want to be in Ottawa. I want to share this with the world. Right? I'm trying. We're all trying. We all have to share this. We all have to help each other. Invite people for Shabbos. Mm-hmm. We're all responsible. You show the beauty. When I used to, I'm very close with many great rabbis. Gedolim. One of them is Mashkiach Lakewood, the Ramat Solomon. And when I was a bacher, I used to eat by him. I used to always eat by him. So I used to notice that he would have a special silver plate for his wife that he would serve her challah with. And when she would walk in, he would stand up for her. Mm. And in fact, every time he ate, it was so funny. Imagine two old couple, very old couple. They're supposed to stand at each end of the table, and each one wanted to sit down, not before the other one. Each one waited for the other one to sit down. They wanted that mutual, so they're like playing a game, like who could sit down first. It was very cute, but I never saw such respect. Mm-hmm. Imagine being like, the feeling that I got from that was amazing. Imagine if we would all see that in our own Shabbos tables. Mm-hmm. They would see themselves. They don't need to hear this Dvar Torah. If you're doing it, they don't need to hear the Dvar Torah. You gotta see it, you gotta feel it. As long as you feel it. Any other?
A small comment, maybe to answer this too. You see many couples splitting, never succeed. Do you think everybody is by nature maybe prepared to be married when they reach 20 or something? I mean, many people, I think...
Listen, I'm not a prophet. I don't know if... I believe that definitely according to this talk, that every neshama is split in half, and each one is destined to find each other. And there are sadly cases where there are women that don't get married, there's men that don't get married. My close friend of my family, she's 42, she just became a kala. It's amazing to hear the stories. But it's very sad. It's not a perfect world. We live in exile right now. Things are not clear. Do I think every 20-year-old should not get married? I should get married? No, I don't know if that. I don't think that's true. I think everyone depends on who they're holding in life. Marriage is not a game. Marriage is a serious thing. If you want to know why shidduchim work very well, because the idea of shidduchim, see, tradition in shidduchim, see, people think tradition is where we just have a tradition, we just do what our grandparents did. That's not tradition. Our grandparents did it because it made sense, and therefore we accept it as a tradition. If our grandparents didn't think it made sense, we would have not done it. Why shidduchim makes sense? Because that's just a simple idea of shidduchim is where once emotions work, once emotions are intact, then we cannot see it clear. We all know this. When emotions can cloud our mind. So what we try to do is, in the Orthodox world, we try to get as much things on paper before the shidduch is read, as the shidduch is being given, and not, people today, I'm not talking about today, it's 2013, people are so involved with narishkeit, with stupidity about this and that. To me, I believe, is that you have to know the basics. Does he have midos? Does he know how to respect a woman? How does he treat his sister? Does he treat her well? Is he a family man? Very good. Does he want to grow? Does he want to achieve? Very good. A woman, is she respectful? Does she maintain her dignity? Is she a tznuah? Is she a bas Yisrael? Perfect. You get that on paper, and now you can let them eat. So if emotions flicker, perfect. And they'll get to know all the nuances and all the things. Are they symmetrical with this likening or that likening? And you could date. That's the point of dating. The point of dating is to get to know each other. But prior, we want to first make sure that this could work, before the emotions get in. That's where shidduchim come. That's the historical background of shidduchim. We want to get logic before we get emotions.
I just asked a question on that. Yeah. It seems most guys, let's say the shidduchim world, they fiddle that. Most girls fiddle that, so I put on paper because.
We fiddle that?
No, they fit all that criteria. They want to grow. They have good minos. So
listen, it's funny. When I was getting married, that was not too long. It was close to 5 years ago. It's nothing. And I was unheard of in the Orthodox world to have a broken engagement. If you had a broken engagement, there was something wrong. Today's Sally, it's a common occurrence. And 20 years ago, it was unheard of for an Orthodox family to have a divorce. Obviously, we're going somewhere the wrong way. Obviously, not keeping the tradition. I think today, people are just are putting their mind to stupid things. People think that life is supposed to be a dream world. They think life is supposed to be, perfect. And the first argument means that we're not meant for each other, and that's wrong. When I first got married, it was a few months. One of our baby asked me, "So did you have your first argument yet?" And I was saying, "I don't know," and whatever. So he said, "I'm very worried." So you have to be real with your wife. Life is not a dream world; it's reality. You got to work together. You have to. This is that's a topic in itself. But again, that's how again, this is all general. This is not specific to each individual. I don't like to get specifically because every individual is different. Every person is different. Every person needs their mentor. Every person needs their Rebbe and Rebbe. But just in a general idea to get a picture of where shidduchim come from. It's very simple. We want to make sure the husband could respect, and a husband is driven to do good things, and the wife could maintain herself as a dignified woman, and she could be she could be that queen that for her children to see, and for her grandchildren to see, and you put together, and then that all creates a beautiful shidduch. Any questions? We're all good? Silence. Yes, we're good. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.